Call the planning board January 26th meeting to order. We have a couple appointments tonight. I'm going to hold off on the minutes until after we get through our old business on this. Our first business is rezoning for JD's Package Store, map 25, lots 5 through 5-1. You want to come up? We held a public hearing on this, and nobody had any questions. The selectmen have also tasked us to look at the other lots in the zone and make a recommendation to them on those with a similar idea. But right now, we have to vote on yours as presented by you. Tina, am I missing the paper in here on it? Oh, I got it. Never mind. Nope. That's not it.
It's on top of the folder over here.
Oh, okay.
What do you want?
Tim is gonna be next.
For the public that's not familiar, this is a lot, one lot that's split by the zone. So the back half of the lot is a different zoning than the front half of the lot. And the requester is asking to have the whole lot zoned as village. So is there any comments from the board?
No, I think there's very few questions. I'd vote to move the question, move it along, and
I'll second it.
All right, hearing a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Having no discussion, is there a vote on it? All in favor? All right. You're set. So that, see Tina.
Okay,
We'll have to request it up to
That's just a
selectmen.
recommendation to the selectmen.
Yeah,
all right,
so we'll
thanks.
get that going. All right, thank you. And then we'll get to this board of selectmen, in a workshop, we'll look at the other zone, the lots that are coming down that strip. And look, it didn't look like when we looked before, that there was any other the same.
It's not a lot, but for some reason that, what was a drop, yes. It was a convenient
Line.
break line.
But that's the only one, everyone else falls on that same line. The next on the board is the Wellhead Protection District. This is a ordinance change. Is there anybody presenting for you guys?
Is there anyone what?
Is there anybody here representing you guys, or you guys are the representative? Okay.
We were told this was gonna be a workshop.
After, they have to vote first.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
How can we vote first?
Because it was presented to
You
us.
have to vote as presented.
Oh, okay.
I'll lead off. We had a public hearing on this. We had a couple members from the public that raised some really legitimate questions. You know, oil tank inside a house, containment for that, uses and stuff, continued uses of their house that they've already been using. Can those go on? Going through the ordinance, I come up with several things that I've got questions on, questioning why and stuff like that. And I'll stop talking for a second and open it up for the board.
well, I didn't realize there was going to be a workshop tonight on it myself. I know we have to vote on it as, I guess, as presented, but we certainly do need a workshop on it.
Okay. I think one of the biggest things that I think on it is current uses in the zone, people that are already there and stuff. If you read this, it doesn't say anywhere that they're exempt. So if somebody's been living in that, even if they're in this, zone 1, the recharge zone, are they going to need immediate containment? A truck that's got, there is something that says that?
Yes. Well, it addresses the topic to some extent, yes. It's enforcement of existing uses, control of existing threats. Section 7.06.
10?
It would be subsection 706.
Just the start of 706? Or 70610?
I don't have the number. It shows an X there, which maybe my version doesn't have it. After the performance standards.
Yeah, that's 70610, control of existing threats.
Yes.
And that's, I got some questions about that. That's our CEO.
That's my interpretation as to if an activity is already existing out there, the CEO has a right to inspect the property. If they notice an issue occurring that could be harmful to the site, then the district would have to go in and install monitoring wells, and it kind of lays out what the process would be at that point. That would be under monitoring.
Oh, okay, the district installs the monitoring wells?
Yeah, and if it's found that there is some sort of, pollution activity occurring, then it would fall back onto the property owner at that point.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
This change is part of the whole zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
So, section 9, existing non-conforming uses would come into play. I mean, they'd be grandfathered to an extent. We wouldn't go back and say, now that we've adopted this, you have to move that whole operation out of that, off that property.
Then you'd have two conflicting ordinances, because this one says you shall, and the other ordinance says,
This is all going to be part of the same ordinance.
okay.
It talks about what we can do under the wellhead protection, part of the whole zoning ordinance, but also section 9 would grandfather those uses, with this being a part of what we'd look at also. Do you,
Yeah, I do. I think you got one section that says, you can't have any hazardous waste, hazardous materials, there's no quantity. So if it's defined in the ordinance as a hazardous material, which is, if you read that, it's anything. So if I've got a thing, if I've got my thing of whatever the newest ant killer is, there's no definition in here. I mean, there's no quantity, because it doesn't, initially it says residential, but then later on when you read it, it doesn't take out the residential part, it just says hazardous materials.
that is one of my questions of this too,
So,
quantifying things, but
all right,
I really boil down to that whole, there's two columns there of the zone 1 and zone 2 and changes. And there really needs to be another column in there that says what the zoning says now and then what the zoning is going to change to. I found that really big. I'm missing a lot of information.
You're looking for a third column that would separate out the changes that
Yeah.
have occurred within the zone?
And I'm looking at it from the landowners within that area who suddenly find themselves with a piece of land that they can do this on, and now it's a change. And I guess I'd like to go down through that.
I read it and interpreted it as that they were allowed to continue the activity, provided that they are not creating a hazard to the water, in the watershed.
And then the one that comes to mind would be an outside oil tank.
Yeah.
So the guy has got an outside oil tank, does he need to put a containment system in for that?
If it's a residential
Mm-hmm.
oil tank, no, they don't.
They don't.
There's a definition in here regarding,
For existing ones? How about the guy that builds a new house?
a new property, they will have to conform
and
to.
that's a state law anyway. They're gonna have to do that anyway.
Well, that's put on a pad, that's put in a containment?
but what about the,
No
what
matter-
is,
no
this
matter
says
where.
If
inside
it's in,
also.
within the wellhead, yes.
If
It's
within the wellhead
Yes, they have
protection,
to
they
do it
then have
anyway.
to do that.
Not by this ordinance.
by
Well, I guess-
state.
Yep.
How does this does this conflict with any of the state stuff?
Well, the state has required that any new homes built within a wellhead protection area, or one defined by a district, and this would be this case, double wall tanks will be required. And for new construction, if somebody goes to oil, changes from something else to oil, they will be required to install double wall. There is assistance for that, available, right? And Patty's got that there. There is some funding available to people to do that. And that's one minor issue. I know that,
All right.
we don't want to say that there's this here and there and there, but regarding regarding the home heating oil tanks, there is assistance available to that.
If somebody's got a lot in zone 1 and they want to put a house on it, they can't get a septic system.
Zone 1 is a whole different beast in itself. That is a highly treasured area, I guess I could say. And we own most of what's in Zone 1 already. There is one property, one parcel, that is affected considerably by Zone 1. We've tried to contact the owner there, we haven't had much success.
I guess, because essentially you've denied them the use of that lot because they can't put a septic system on it?
Septic and, and heating as well, oil heat or kerosene or something like that as well would be not allowed there.
And then, Scott, if this ever, I mean, if that ever transfers over to Lake Arrowhead and their wellhead, they've got a lot more houses in Zone 1.
I don't think there are too many in Zone 1. Most of them-
That one street going, was that Lakeview Street or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We actually just replaced, or the DEP helped us replace some tanks, some older tanks in that area
Okay.
to try to mitigate it.
I guess we're starting to get into a workshop on
Yeah.
this. And I think we should, before we go any further, we should take a vote on what we have presented to us. So we're not spinning wheels and repeating ourselves later on. And is that consensus of the board?
Sure.
I hear a motion on it
So moved, yeah, presented.
to adopt it, or
Yeah.
to adopt this as written?
It's written.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
I think we need a workshop.
All right. The motion fails for not having a second. I'll entertain any other motions. I'll make a motion that we table the discussion on this until we can have a workshop.
I'd second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
There's no discussion on the table motion, I don't believe.
Okay. All those in favor? All right. I think instead of rejecting it, we'll just pick it up, the next agenda item. We have one other thing. Tom, are you representing the medical marijuana family?
Am I representing it? No, I'm not. But in your packet, I believe Tina has passed the information that the planning board has gone through in several workshops as to recommended changes to definitions.
I think the what you had there was pretty decent.
And just for the public's benefit, the planning board has looked at this several times. And what we did is I did an analysis of what other communities had done in the state that had or were considering dispensaries. And in all cases, those other municipalities had their definitions either written by town council or by contracted attorneys. So as you've mentioned in an earlier meeting, Kurt, I think we've benefited by having a lot of other research done by municipalities, and these definitions are, I think, fairly comprehensive. The other thing that was brought up, I believe, by Frank and endorsed by the full board was that these types of facilities should be along our two arterials of 5 and 202, and that's built into the definition for a medical clinic.
Yeah, it came up in one of our, that was in our workshop with the selectmen. Is there any discussion on it?
Had a lot of discussion on it already.
Hey, I mean, the horse has already left the barn, but
Yeah.
I'll take a motion to accept the ordinance and forward it on to the selectmen.
Second.
All those in favor? So moved. So, thanks, Tom. All right. We have a letter, communications, we have a letter from the Water District concerning Green Court Acres. In summary, correct me if I'm wrong on this, it basically, the state is 3 feet, the water, Green Court is proposing 5 feet, and you guys are okay with 5 feet for coverage from pipes?
Yeah.
Okay. You could read it if anybody else wants us to read it, but that basically, you're okay with that going through?
How far along is that project?
It has gone through
Preliminary.
preliminary. It's come, I don't know when Bill's on to come back to us. He's not scheduled, is he? So,
Not yet.
it's been through, SMRP, Southern Maine, so, Patty's got a lot of issues with what are lot, you know, how big is the subdivision with lots broken out and lots added in, lots sold to a joint, you know. So it's a fuzzy number right now.
Do you want an update on that?
Sure.
Before this person bought that property, there were several lot splits, splits to abutters that were not retained for 5 years, and they were changed. So they need to incorporate that developed area into their,
So that is the rule on that then?
right, so
Okay.
I don't know, they can omit that from the subdivision conditions, but they need to show it on their developed area.
Okay. It doesn't change anything with the number of lots and,
It could.
okay. All right. We have, just bury that. We have meeting minutes from 11:17 to go over. We're working towards the workshop, so keep,
This is the last thing.
we'll keep crunching out. All of us were here, so we can all vote on it.
Motion to accept.
We have a motion to accept?
That's seconded.
All right, second, all those in favor? All right, November 17th, that should be a hard copy down there.
Yeah, it's in Tim's folder.
Okay. All right, that's that. All right, that brings us through the, our agenda. Tom, do you have anything for us before going to the workshop?
Just two things. One is, the selectmen have asked me to appear at their next meeting to talk about performance bonding.
Okay, good.
And I just wanted to know what the planning board's position was, if you wanted to attend that meeting, or if you want me just to give you a copy of my recommendations to them. I'm not quite sure. The chair of the Board of Selectmen wasn't definitive as to what she wanted to speak about. But I will be attending a meeting. I just wanted to
Okay.
let the planning
Yeah,
board know.
I'd like to go, just to,
So we can see, you know, what the discussion is, and it may mean that it comes back to the planning board. I think that there's some remedies to the existing ordinance. I think the existing ordinance kind of ties the hands of both the applicant and the town. And so there's both some management issues that deal with performance bonding, some numerical mistakes that are typos in the ordinance, and there's a bunch of things that need some housekeeping.
okay.
And also some clarity as to what the town's position is on performance bonding.
Yeah, we need to resolve this now before the next cycle starts.
Absolutely.
Okay. That concludes our agenda for that. We'll be adjourning, then we'll start a workshop up with the water district to go over the wellhead zone. Hear a motion to adjourn?
So
All right, all those in favor? That concludes tonight's meeting at 7:00.